Carte de Visties is a photograph mounted on a piece of card the size of a formal visiting card. Carte de Visties was introduced to England in 1857. A lot of times during the Victorian era, these were used as calling cards also. If a young man went to visit a lady, it had his photo on it. Usually it had information about himself on the back, the size of a business card. Sometimes they're a little bit bigger, and I'll get into those dimensions a little bit later. There was a craze for collecting celebrity carte de Visties, and that reached its peak around 1860s. The carte de Visties photograph proved to be a very popular item during the American Civil War, and soldiers, friends, and family members would have a means of inexpensively obtaining photographs and sending them to their loved ones. But the format remained popular until the beginning of the 20th century. So it'd be 1910, possibly as late as 1915, for what I've seen a few. Carte de Visties can still be found in large numbers. They're not anything that's rare. They can be found loose in drawers and family albums. What makes these so rare in occasion is whether they're military related or famous persons, of course. And we're going to go over that with some. Go on to the size of these. When you're looking at Carte de Visties, the size or small paper prints about 3.5 by 2 inches, posted onto standard size cardboard mounts about 4 by 2.5 inches. The size remained unchanged throughout the cart's history. The mount is what the picture is going to be mounted on. If you have several examples of Carte de Visties, you can compare them. The relative thickness of the cardboard mount can indicate a rough date. Generally, the thinner the mount, the earlier the photograph. The shape of them, the shape of the cardboard mount can also help with dating. Early cards produced in the 1860s usually have square corners. And the 1870 mounts started showing up with rounded corners, and that's when those were introduced around the 1870s. Late cards, 1850s to 1910, was the later ones. They're going to be about the same. They're going to be the 1870s with the rounded corners, so you want to look for those. We're going to take a look at some of these that I found. Now, this wasn't on any online auction. This is a special place I go to look just for those hard-to-find military collectibles, and someone had a lot of these up. We're going to look at some of these cards. Okay, so first off, let's remember what I talked about with the corners. If you look at this first photo, it is Wilhelm I. It's Kaiser von Deutschland. On the back, there is a live signature, Emperor William, but I can't confirm whether that's true or not. I have to do a lot of research on these to find out if it was a signature. Even if it's not, this is still a nice carte de Visties. And if you remember what I said about the corners, now if you look at this one, this has a rounded corner. So this is going to be from the 1870s. And it's a really nice example. It's nice and clean. There's nothing else on the back of it as to the portrait studio, but it's still desirable to me. I haven't looked up prices or anything. Now, the second one is a bit thinner than the first one, but again, this has rounded corners. I was going to put that around 1870s or after. And this is Frederick Wilhelm. There is no back photographer's information on the back of that either. And it's still a nice one. There's this next one, I believe it's it could be a police officer or a soldier. I haven't gotten, again, I just got these in. I wanted to do a brief slideshow with them. Kind of just showing them. It's another German soldier. He's got a saber on, and I have to look closer at his helmet device there to see if it's German or Prussian or if it's military or police related. He kind of looks like a policeman to me, a municipal policeman. Then we're going to move on to another I have that has a studio on the back. This has a rounded corner. This is the 1870s. This is a very light photo. But if you look at these, and I can't get in a close-up of the buttons, but this one appears to me, this is either someone in a fraternity organization, kind of like not IOOF, but like the Fraternal Order of the Eagles, things like that. Sometimes they had their own uniforms and helmets and things. Uh, Early 1900s, mostly after, well, they did from the 1800s on. But this one to me looks as if it's a Confederate type of uniform that would have been worn by somebody. Maybe they didn't have reenactments back then, but like the Grand Army of the Republic, which this is not, the Confederates also had their own union. When they went to reunions, they would dress in their uniforms and go. And this could very well be one of those types of photos. But this was from Matt Collin, and this is 3rd and Pine Streets in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That's a nice one. Now, what I have that I consider very special is really just, I didn't recognize the man at first, and I started thinking about it, and I said, no, he's somebody famous. It was photographed by R.A. Bonine in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, this is thin, and it did have the square corners, but somebody cut the corners off to fit it inside of a scrapbook. There's no glue on the back. It's got a little bit of foxing on the back, but for its age, now this is going to be from the 1860s here, but this is a famous Confederate general. He was known for a hat under his same name, but this is William J. Hardee, and he developed the Hardee hat, but he was a very great general for the Confederacy. And now hopefully people won't be hating on heritage or history here, but this was an early photo, but they did make these for, as I mentioned earlier, the celebrity type of photos, CDVs, Carte Visties. So this very well could be a reprint. It is actually a reprint of an original photo, depending on how early it was. You really couldn't tell the difference if you looked at it. So it's hard to say. I'm keeping it for sentimental reasons. It's going in my famous general collections where I have a lot of Union generals and very little authentic Confederate ones because they're faked all the time and they're not easy to come by. But yeah, this will go with my American generals, and that made it worth the entire price. I didn't pay very much for the lot. It came with some political pins from Nixon and Lodge campaigns in the 60s. But yeah, that was a very nice surprise. I like finding famous people. It goes also with my one of my Medal of Honor recipients photos I had early in World War II before he was awarded the Medal of Honor. But I'll get into those later. I got some cruise books to show you with some interesting things in there. But I just wanted to keep this short, bit of useful knowledge in the beginning there, and I hope you enjoyed looking at these photos. As